Hello everyone. If you're watching this, you missed day 2 of our computer science principles class of week 15. Let's go ahead and get going. We've got a short warm-up for you, which I'll go over in just one moment. We reviewed assignments 040801 and 041001, and I'll do that for you as well. I've given you an extension on 41101 until Friday the 11th, as many people needed it, and I would like to give you more time and have a higher quality product than have you rush. Journal 3 was due yesterday. Please make sure if you didn't turn in the journal that you make that your top priority, as we do want those turned in, and that's going to be very helpful to you later in the year. My objectives are that you can explain the flexibility of a programming language, implement a function using programming patterns, write comments cleanly, and use your debugging skills. So let's take a look at the warm-up. The warm-up was the following. We worked on this as a group. I gave you a series of conditions for when you should wear a mask, and I asked you to come up with as many different ways as you can think of to write if-else statements that would result in the proper assignment of either true or false to the variable mask. So let's take a look at some options that I came up with. Here's a couple of solutions. Here's one. So we could go ahead and test to see if the year is correct first. And if the year is one of the pandemic years, then we go ahead and put on a mask. Then we'll say, well, hold on a second. If we're in New Zealand and we're not a doctor, let's take that mask off. And then if we're outside and the distance is more than 6 feet, also let's take that mask off. But if we are a doctor and we're not outside and the distance is not more than or equal to 6 feet, then let's put that mask back on. Yeah, sounds pretty good, right? Now here's another approach that you could take. This is a much more complicated statement, but it's still just as valid. In this particular example, we're going to check to see if we're a doctor first, and if we're not, and also either the year is not right one way or the other, or we're in New Zealand, or outside of all of these things, maybe we're outside and far enough away. In all of those cases, we can take the mask off. Otherwise, we put the mask on. So two very, very different approaches, producing both equally valid results. Where am I getting at with this? Many people went on Google and searched up the solution to assignment 040801, which is posted here on my MCPS, or sorry, on code.org. So if you did that, your code probably looked very, very similar to most others people's. And I cannot give you credit for that. So please make sure you can look up videos of people doing this, but you need to provide your own solution. Show me you understand how to do it. Otherwise, I cannot give you a grade. So if you got a 0 on that assignment, you need to go back and you need to give me a unique solution. As I just showed you, there's millions of different ways to approach it. The two I showed you were just 2 examples out of many different equally valid ways to do it. So come up with a different valid way to do it. I don't care if it's less efficient. I just care that you can do it yourself and that makes sense to you. Further, some other issues that I saw in assignment 08. So let's look at them now. Something I saw a lot of is people not writing their conditions above the on events. Remember, every single function needs to have some comments above it, the pre and post conditions. If you don't have these, you automatically lose 3 points on this assignment. That's a lot of points to lose for 2 lines of words. It'd be so easy to do. So please add these if you haven't yet. Second thing I saw was people doing the following. If I take let me take away this on event right now so the code just runs by itself. If I take this and run it, this works fine. And you can see it here. This doesn't work Wednesday. I've compared Monday and Tuesday. Well, Wednesday is not Monday and Tuesday, so this doesn't work. But here's what I saw a lot of people do. They would say this, if day is equal to Monday or Tuesday. That makes sense in English, but as you can see, it does not make any sense to the computer, as it says, oh, this works, meaning the day is either Monday or Tuesday, which it's clearly not. What's happening? Well, think of each of the things on either side of the OR as being standalone if statements. This standalone if statement is ridiculous. No one would ever do this. But in JavaScript, a single string like this is evaluated to true. Most things are evaluated true, except for explicitly false. So be very, very careful, please. You do not want to write it this way. You want to write it this way. This is the only way that works. So be very mindful when writing these. Okay. Another thing that I'd like to go over is this assignment number 041001, specifically bubble 10. I saw a lot of people have the same issue here, and that you didn't quite understand what I was going for. You need to create a function, and that function needs to hold all the parts of your code that are duplicated across your on events. That is the idea. And then you call that function inside your on events. We call this kind of function, where it just has some lines of code in it, a procedure. And the point of a procedure is to make your code more readable. If you just have one line of code in your procedure, there's no point in it, as you could just write that line of code every time. You're not making it any easier for yourself, and the computer never cares whether you have this approach or just write the lines out. It doesn't matter to the computer one way or the other. So please, the whole point is to make it more readable for yourself. Make it clear that this procedure needs to exist. It needs to have lots of code in there for it to be worth the while. It needs to be called more than once. And lastly, you need to have these comments above it telling you what it does. Otherwise, someone else reading it is going to have to spend a lot of time figuring out what you were going for. And we want to avoid that. So those were the things we covered today. If you have any questions, please make sure you email me, and I'd be happy to help you. Otherwise, I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, and I'll see you guys next week. Have a good one.